Thank you. So, welcome everyone. Um, don't get your hands dirty, child. So, I think every one of us has heard this phrase before, especially during our childhood. But before I clear up what I want to start with two facts. Fact number one: 1,400 kilometers in 4 days. Fact number two: 30 minutes of washing shoes in the hotel tub. So if you maybe ask yourself now, what do those two facts have to do with getting your hands dirty? I think you can imagine that after visiting four construction sites, talking to five users, and having a lot of dirt on my hands was the case. So I got a lot of oil, clay, and dirt everywhere, not just on my shoes and on my hands, as well on my clothes and my notebook. But why am I here? And who am I? My name is Laura. I'm a senior UX consultant at a UX agency in Munich. So we're based in Germany. And I've been using or being a UX consultant, designer, whatever, there are a lot of different job descriptions for almost 5 years now. But my passion lies in research and especially exploring the problem space. So, understanding the user, understanding what they need, what they want, and in the best case, it's even for complex products. So, what is a complex product for me? It's usually something that I personally do not use in my daily work or even know of their existence. So, according to Statista from January last year, around 3 million people in Germany work in the fields of metal construction, mechatronics, energy and electrical professions, structural and civil engineering. I dare to say that this is an industry, or there are more industries, where digital products with a really good user experience are not necessarily present. Why? I think it's a good question. But because of the complexity and sometimes unfamiliar terrain, I think it's even more important to understand the whole environment, especially when you create digital products for those specific industries, but as well if you create any kind of product, not just digital ones. And for it's super important to understand the target audience and especially their needs and problems. So last year in March, I was able to fly to the US. And as you see here from my small little town in Germany to Racine in Wisconsin, it was quite a flight and a ride. And there we had the possibility to talk to those very same users on site. So those users from the industries that we usually just walk by on our day-to-day work and you never have a look at it. And it was super exciting. We had the possibility to learn about a work environment, the needs, and the problems of users on construction sites. And the problems may well include the full clay stick shoes that I had to wash for 30 minutes in a bathtub. So, after a long flight and a short night in the hotel, we started at 7 a.m. on a Monday. All in all, we visited only four different construction sites, but we spent a lot of time in the car during the mentioned 1,400 kilometers in 4 days. I will tell you a few more learnings that we got how to use your time during those long kilometers well. So you may ask yourself, what have you been doing on construction sites? Yeah, I told you I talked to users, but well, I would like to introduce you to the product that we've been focusing on. So the product is the Telebelt. Here you have a picture of this beautiful product. And this Telebelt is a truck, as you see, with a mounted conveyor belt, and it can transport gravel or concrete, just what is needed on the construction site. And obviously, you can use it everywhere where you need it. So here, for example, in where they build houses. So, what were we doing? If you think like were they doing the user experience design and the research for this truck or a specific part of it? I will give you the answer. So, our challenge was to find out how the operators use the telebuild, but especially how they interact with the remote control and how the remote control can be improved to provide a smooth and great experience on site. So on site, we looked at the setup of the machine. You see here, safety is super important, of course. And we asked the operator with our prepared questions. So we always came earlier when they were setting up the truck. So we could use the time and talk to the operator and other workers on site and find out how they set up the machine and what to do to have like a safe environment. But as I said, the remote control was our focus there. So we try to understand how the haptic daily working tool of the Telebed users is used. We were able to take a look at a wide range of user types as well as applications on site. So we were at the construction sites of houses, as you've seen here or in pictures before, but also at a bridge. So this one was a construction site of a bridge. And here I will show you now in the next picture where some gravel is being brought up with the conveyor belt. So here. And this picture is quite special for us because we were as well very pleased, kind of, that a few small things on site did not work out as they should have. So, for example, this specific gravel was frozen. And that was a problem on the construction side. And we could definitely analyze this problem and pull a need out of it. How we can improve the truck, in this case, not remote control, but still the truck to find a solution for it. And as I said, as soon as the first truck with stones or the concrete mixer arrived, we couldn't ask the operator, obviously, any more questions. So we had to jump into the observing role. And in this entire picture, you can see how the truck is in use. So we have the first truck putting the gravel on the conveyor belt, and then it's going up and then across, and then we have the conveyor belt here and the house where the gravel goes down. So the exciting thing for us was to see that the operator is equipped with the radio remote control and is kind of tumbling around on the construction site. You see all that clay there. If you think you can't walk on that, they walk on that and you sink in. That's how my shoes got dirty as hell. So, and they have to tumble around and find the best view because they need to see the house. They have to have a contact with the truck driver and they have to see what their truck is doing to move it around. So, that's very important. And if you ask yourself now, why do they have to see the truck driver who's putting gravel on the build? Sometimes if something is not working out. He has to stop tipping the materials onto the machine, and the operator somehow visually needs to tell the truck driver to stop. So I can imagine you're now a bit curious how this operating tool, let's say it like this, looks like. So I will give you a glimpse on this. You see, it's an utility item. And our mission was to improve this remote control, understand the whole environment, the target group, the needs, and the problems. And here you can also see very well the condition of the radio remote control in reality. This control is 1 year old. 1 year. Let it sink in. But unfortunately, the operator has no time to maintain this remote control or the truck. They have a lot to do. So this was a real picture. And this was very exciting for us because when we came to the conception, for example, of the icons of the radio remote control, We saw, well, there's a lot of dirt on it. You're not allowed, you shouldn't do them super thin or anything because otherwise you don't see them anymore. And something interesting as well, what you never hear during interviews, like doing them online with the users, you can see they use thick gloves. So it's especially as well important to see where you have which button and that you can still use all of them separately without touching one, not on purpose. And what we, of course, did, we used the human centered development process as an approach. And we talked to the client first of all about expectations, their target audience, goals, and risks. So we already got a glimpse of everything before we went to the US. And this is something what I can really recommend you to anyone before doing on-site research. Get an initial understanding of the product before talking to the users, especially with complex products like this machine or remote control, where I have no clue about it. I didn't even know it would exist here on this earth. Um, was very helpful for us. We understood the language of the users, and we didn't because we would never have the time on site in the US to understand the language, understand the problems and needs, and create a prototype on site. So the very first thing we did was to get an overview of the functionalities, as you see here on this beautiful screenshot, to understand the field of application and other details. So for this purpose, we had a 2-hour call with our contact person on site, and they showed us everything. And this was super, super helpful. So I can just say it again. If you do on-site research, get an initial understanding before visiting the first users. And something else, a little advice, always have enough energy with you. Not just for the video transmission, but as well personal energy. I think everyone that has ever done research before, on site or online, you know it's an exhausting journey. And not just having one interview after another, but especially if you have it on site, you're with a client, and you maybe as well have to be flexible. So trying to find a balance between your energy and the whole journey. But it's not just this. I think we all love the great experiences. And I want to share some more thoughts about our journey that we had in the US. I would like to share this quote. So after arriving at a construction site, we were greeted with, "Oh, I heard from Jason that you have a paper cardboard with you. I want to see it as well." So it's a small construction world there in Wisconsin. So word had spread, and I already mentioned that we were building a paper prototype, and this paper prototype was in hot demand. So I want to show it to you as well. Therefore, we brought this prototype, and this prototype was rebuilt or tested at each site. And this possibility resulted in further open discussions, and it brought out visible needs, such as the use of safety buttons. So I already mentioned they use thick gloves. So safety buttons are super important to avoid unintentional activation of switches by body part. Operators usually have the tool or the remote control in front of them. And if they lean down, it can happen that they just touch a switch with their belly, for example, and then they turn something on in the truck, and this shouldn't be like that. Safety first. So this was a great takeaway for us because we really could get the most new insights from this observation when the users used our paper prototype and we're rebuilding it with sticks that we had or post-its and whatever. Observing and listening is important. Give me a honk with a microphone, and I would love to scream at a concrete truck driver. This is a statement which I still love. It's a statement which expresses the need for easy contact across a noisy, large construction site. So, as I mentioned before, the operator needs to be in contact with the truck driver, but it's noisy. It's super noisy on a construction site. So, how do you do that? They usually just wave with their hands until something happens. But if the truck driver is on his phone, well, you probably need to run to that nothing happens. So, observe and listen. I know researchers will just not, but especially there, it's worth it. I as well mentioned that we spend a lot of time in the car. And if you do on-site research in a specific time frame, I can just recommend use your time wisely. I know it's a lot of energy that you use, but it's still very important. So we use this time wisely. And we wrote down our insights, especially with our client. So our client was with us in the US. So we prepared beforehand this canvas. And in the car, we had opportunity to write down all the details. So we wrote down the name, the experience level, very important as well, as you know, any specifications of the construction site, further information, and then the most important part of all, the need, problems, and possible solutions, which were mentioned by our users. So this canvas, yeah, it was our best friend during the trip, and I was taking a lot of notes home to Germany. Speaking about notes, back in Germany, we had to process, document, and prepare all those impressions in order to make them available to our customer. Our canvases were enriched with photos of the respective construction site. And in order to avoid bias, the insights were once again documented and grouped in a digital anonymous form. After that, we this resulted in hypotheses, problem areas, priorities, and our recommendation for action. But of course, I was not the only one on this project. So I just wanted to as well show you my dear colleague, Bernhard. It was a lot of teamwork that we did. And after presenting the evaluation, we went into further ideation phase, and the prototypes that we made on site were combined with the generated insights. So we created a different radio remote layouts in the end, and it was very nice for us to hand this over. And if you want to know how it's doing now, um, it's now, we handed it over. We talked a lot with electricians to ensure technical feasibility, and it should be developed like this year, kind of. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to test our real remote control in the real world. And I hope I could give you a few insights into my research world where I was last year in 1 week. And I hope I could as well give you, yeah, more insights. In addition, I want to raise awareness with my talk because user experience plays an even bigger role in certain industries. And there are also safety aspects in these professions that need to be taken into account. And furthermore, why shouldn't these people also get a more pleasant working environment through a good user experience? And I hope next time when you're doing research or preparing your trip, you think of me and ask yourself, how do your hands get dirty? Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. That was a little bit different, I guess, than most people who are nice, comfortable offices and dealing with digital devices. I particularly like the belly pushing of the buttons, something that you don't have to think about usually on a day to day. If anybody has any questions, please do write them in the chat box on the right hand side. So I saw some people, we did have an issue for about 2 or 3 minutes at the start where the stream wasn't working correctly, but I think
Oh no.
that's working now. But if everybody has any questions, just please write them in there. Um, but yeah, I guess one question I had to get the ball rolling is, do you always do work with physical devices, or do you also have a kind of, do you also do digital work? And where do you see are the big challenges or overlaps between those?
We mainly do digital products, so that's a fun thing because it was a haptic product, but in the end, it has a digital screen on it. So for us, it was interesting to have the combination of digital and haptic world. Where I see the difference, especially with research for haptic, it's even more important to see how people use the device or the tool. With digital products, of course, it's important as well, but haptic, how you use it, where you put it, yeah, it's a totally different world.
Excellent. And what are the, I guess, is there anything that people can take away from, because I know field studies are just fantastic. It probably, from my perspective, listening to you, it's kind of the same things you're watching out for, whether somebody's interacting with a digital device or whether they're interacting with a physical device.
I think it's the same. It's the same, but when you're, for example, when it's with a tool, or in that case, the construction side, like the whole environment is even more important. So they have like most of the time different aspects as well that you have to take into account. For example, where they have to walk. So we almost fell in the water kind of one time because we had to cross this bridge. Well, something the operator has to do as well, jump around any thing. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm conscious that because of the issues at the start, that people might be a minute or two behind us. So I'm just
Oh no.
trying to see whether they're coming in with questions now. But yeah, I guess, is there anything that really surprised you, having kind of, as you said, working typically in the digital space? Did you like it, or would you like to do a bit more haptic?
I really loved it to do the haptic product or the mix between haptic and digital. I think the biggest surprise was it takes almost 1 year to order those switches. So we had to finalize our research 2 weeks after we came back to Germany, yeah, because they ordered it. So I think that was a big surprise for us because with the digital world way, yeah, you can do iterations, you can do a small MVP which can be used, but with this, a MVP still needs to somehow work with the truck. So,
Yeah, I'm probably showing my age, but I do remember working on some projects where we had to get the server order in 6 to 8 months in advance of going live, because it was back when we were building on-site servers for hosting everything. So it's so much easier nowadays.
true.
Excellent. Well, I haven't seen any questions coming in, so I think we'll wrap up there. But thank you very much, Laura, for sharing on your experience with physical devices and getting your hands dirty.
Thank you.